"He looks like your lost son," the millionaire's fiancée whispered, her voice trembling as the little boy stepped into the grand ballroom. No one noticed the silence that followed, except the father who had buried his child in his heart 5 years ago. The chandeliers sparkled over the luxurious engagement party in downtown Toronto. Politicians, CEOs, and socialites filled the room, celebrating Daniel Morrison, one of Canada's most respected tech entrepreneurs, and his elegant fiancée, Claire Bennett. The champagne flowed, cameras flashed, and laughter echoed against the glass walls overlooking Lake Ontario. But Daniel wasn't laughing. Across the room, near the dessert table, stood a small boy with messy brown hair and nervous eyes. He looked out of place in a slightly oversized suit, holding tightly onto the hand of a woman who appeared to be his mother. Something about the boy's face made Daniel's chest tighten. Claire leaned closer to Daniel. "I know this might sound strange," she said softly, "but he looks exactly like Ethan." The name hit Daniel like a storm. Ethan, his 5-year-old son who had disappeared during a camping trip in Banff National Park. One moment Ethan was chasing butterflies near their tent, and the next, he was gone. Despite massive search operations, helicopters, volunteers, and weeks of hope, there was never a trace. Authorities eventually declared him presumed dead. Daniel's marriage collapsed under the weight of grief. His world had turned to ash. Daniel tried to steady his breathing. "It's not possible," he muttered. "Ethan would be 10 now." Claire swallowed. "That boy looks about 10. Daniel's legs moved before his mind could stop him. He walked slowly toward the child, every step heavier than the last. The closer he got, the more the similarities became undeniable. The small scar above the right eyebrow from when Ethan fell off his bike, the way he tilted his head when nervous, even the dimple on his left cheek. The woman beside the boy noticed Daniel staring. She looked protective, almost fearful. "Can I help you?" she asked politely. Daniel's voice cracked. "What's his name?" "Lucas," she replied. "Lucas Reed." The boy looked up at Daniel with curious eyes. Eyes that Daniel had memorized years ago. "I'm sorry if this sounds strange," Daniel said carefully. "But, where was Lucas born?" The woman hesitated. "In Alberta," she answered. "Near Banff." The room seemed to spin. Claire stepped in gently. "Would you mind if we talked somewhere quieter?" Moments later, in a private lounge away from the party noise, the woman introduced herself as Sarah Reed. She explained that 5 years ago, she and her husband had been hiking in a remote area near Banff when they found a small boy wandering alone, dehydrated and frightened. He couldn't clearly remember his full name, only that his name was Ethan and that he was camping with his dad. They reported it to local authorities, but due to a clerical error and miscommunication between park services and child welfare, no active missing child case was connected to the boy. Sarah's husband had recently lost their own child in a miscarriage. They believed finding Ethan was fate. When no family came forward within months, they were eventually granted custody and renamed him Lucas, hoping to give him a fresh start. Daniel felt like the air had been punched from his lungs. "There was a massive search," he said, tears forming. "We searched for weeks." Sarah's eyes filled with guilt and confusion. "We filed a report. I swear we did. We never meant to take someone else's child." The boy sat quietly, absorbing the tension. He looked between them. "Why are you crying?" he asked Daniel softly. Daniel knelt down, unable to hold back anymore. "Because I think I'm your dad." The room froze. Lucas frowned slightly. "My dad died last year," he said, glancing at Sarah. "In a car accident." Daniel's heart broke all over again, this time for the years he had missed. Birthdays, first days of school, bedtime stories. Claire stood silently in the corner, watching the man she loved unravel and rebuild at the same time. A DNA test was arranged within days. The media caught wind of the story, and soon Canada was watching closely. News channels from Vancouver to Halifax shared the unbelievable reunion unfolding in Toronto. When the results came in, there was no doubt. Lucas Reed was Ethan Morrison. The reunion was not simple or magically perfect. Ethan, Lucas, was confused and emotionally torn. He loved Sarah, the woman who had raised him through scraped knees and nightmares. But slowly, piece by piece, memories began to surface. A camping trip, a blue tent, a father's laugh. Instead of a bitter custody battle, something unexpected happened. Daniel made a choice that shocked everyone. He invited Sarah to stay. She saved my son, Daniel told the press. While I was grieving, she was loving him. I can't erase that. Through therapy, patience, and countless difficult conversations, they built a new kind of family. Sarah remained a maternal figure in Ethan's life. Daniel stepped back into fatherhood gently, respecting the years that had shaped his son without him. Claire postponed the wedding, not out of doubt, but out of understanding. "Your son needs you more than I need a ceremony," she told Daniel one quiet evening overlooking the city skyline. Months later, there was another gathering, this one smaller, warmer. Not in a ballroom, but in Daniel's backyard. Ethan kicked a soccer ball across the grass while Daniel laughed, truly laughed, for the first time in years. Sarah sat nearby with a soft smile. Claire joined them, no longer just a fiancée, but part of something deeper. That night, as the sun set over Toronto, Ethan looked up at Daniel and said, "I think I remember you teaching me how to skip stones." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "You were terrible at it," he teased gently. Ethan grinned. "Can you teach me again?" And in that simple request was the true miracle, not just finding a lost child, but finding forgiveness, grace, and a second chance. Sometimes life doesn't return what you lost in the way you expect. Sometimes it returns it differently, changed by time and pain. But if your heart is strong enough to choose compassion over anger, you might just rebuild something even stronger than before. Because family isn't only about blood. It's about love that refuses to give up, even when the world says it's too late.